What is going on, y'all? Gamers Goon here today, and today we have our 5 non-lotto guys that I think your teams need to draft. So we're not going to talk about the Cooper flags. We're not going to talk about guys right now projected to go into the lotto. So you look at probably Derek Queen. We're not going to mention him. But this is where things get a little iffy because there's one guy that is kind of borderline lotto, which is kind of the reason for this video, and that's why we're making it. One of the guys that you cannot miss here, if you are a team picking in the middle, if you get another opportunity, if you're the Spurs, or even if you're one of these other teams that somehow pick up another later first round pick, the guy you cannot miss here, in my opinion, is Cedric Coward. You look at Cedric Coward, a lot of people have high hopes for him. He was a guy that really skyrocketed, and I'm not going to lie, there's a lot of FOMO when it comes to Cedric Coward, and I think you're really banking off of some of the idea of what he can be, right? You look at a guy here that, if you could get a Mikal Bridges, that's great. Those are guys that have produced a lot via trade because they're extremely useful players in the NBA. But you're looking at a guy here in Cedric Coward who is a good defender. He's going to have his hands in pretty much every single situation. Then you look at the three-point shooting. You trust it. It's there. The question here then becomes, older player, how much more really can he develop? I would be willing here to take the gamble. If it's just outside the lottery, I think it's a home run pick. You're getting potentially the best 3-and-D player in the class. I know Con Knipple has an argument for that, but here I think you get a really good option in Cedric Coward. And if you could get a Mikal Bridges or a Bilal Coulibaly out of this pick here, I think you're hitting a home run. So this is a guy here that I think a lot of teams should be interested in. It'll be interesting to see where he goes draft day. He was a guy that seemingly was skyrocketing up boards. We thought, like, well, maybe he go top 10. It seems to have died down a little. Maybe he'll be closer to the 20s. Maybe he'll go lotto still. He's the one that kind of just, out of all the guys we're going to mention today, still has that lotto capability. So, now let's get to our number 2 prospect here on prospects your team should not miss on, and you should take. I know it ranks him here at 17. Will Riley will probably go towards the 20s, but this here, to me, if you are looking at Ace Bailey as, hey, it's a tough shot maker, he's got a lot of big time shots in him, right? Like, he'll shoot the three. He's really aggressive offensively. He'll attack the rim. Needs to put on some weight, though, if you're Will Riley. But this is a guy that I watched at Illinois, and at no point when Will Riley had the ball in his hands did I question what was happening. It never looked fluid. There's a lot of looseness to his game and a lot of just, it's not necessarily the most smooth about how he goes about his scoring and about him offensively, but this is a guy that can play guard, good handles, an okay passer, but a big time scorer, very lengthy. This is going to sound crazy to say because I know a lot of people have KJ mocked in the top 10. If you don't know who KJ is, that's Kasparas Shakashonis. But a lot of people have him in the top 10. Will Riley, at times, for me, I was more comfortable with him with the ball than Kasparas with the ball. There's a lot of creativity to Kasparas' games, but sometimes that bites you. Will Riley, you pretty much knew what he was going to do. He always would make the smart pass. He would always be aggressive. There was no hesitation really to his game at times. And when you looked at KJ, not necessarily there's hesitation, but just mistakes that could pile up onto each other. You look at Will Riley, for the most part, the mistakes weren't all there. So I would feel comfortable there with him in that aspect. And then I'm looking at a guy here, obviously you expect him to put on some weight going into the NBA, but he was a tough finisher at the rim. He was a tough finisher at the rim, being as skinny as he is coming into the league. I mean, he is only 180 pounds, and that's probably with a soaking wet towel on, right? Like, this dude, Very skinny, very very skinny. But I think he's one of those guys that's kind of got some sneaky strength to him. He's not a guy really that I have any concerns about when it gets to the NBA. You're gonna have to put on weight to really become a long time productive NBA player, but you kind of know what you're getting here in Will Riley. You're going to get a guy that's a spark plug off the bench, could work his way into a starting role. I'm very high on Will Riley. I think he's also another guy there that you could target, and he might even be one of the better players to come out of this draft if he hits his fullest of potential. Very excited for Will Riley. Obviously, as an Illinois fan, I could speak a lot on Will Riley. I could speak about him all day, but Will Riley, we'll stop it there for now. Next, my next guy that you guys cannot miss out on is Neek Clifford. We've talked about him quite a bit in these videos because I want the Bulls to at least consider drafting him, whether that's trading down. I don't necessarily think it's the right pick at 12, but I love Neek Clifford, man. He's a guy that does everything very well. Everything very, very well. Clunky handles, I don't care about. Weak touch, don't really care about, to be honest with you. I don't think I'm going to have him really being the guy, because you look at the Bulls right now, and I'm speaking for them, Kobe White goes to the rim aggressively. Same thing with Giddey. I think that's something he can work on and really develop. Overcommitting on closeouts, that's why you have big men that can block shots, but he's just a really aggressive player all around. Reminds me a lot of Josh Hart. If you can get that outside of the lottery, if you could get a Josh Hart level player, I think you're hitting a home run here. So this is my third guy here, Neek Clifford, a guy that stuffed the stat sheets at Colorado State. He had opportunities to go play at a bigger school, stuck with Colorado State, had a really good year, always seemed to be the guy. Come March Madness time, you'd be like, oh, Colorado State's there? Guess what? We get to watch Neek Clifford play basketball, and it's always a pretty fun experience. He's going to be a guy that I think will be highly coveted for those playoff contending teams there in the middle of the first round. All right, so we gave you 3 first-round guys. Let's go find a guy in the second round to give you. Now, here we're going to go to, I think we could go Jamir Watkins. He's a guy I just mocked the Bulls the other day. But we're going to go Jamir Watkins, big-time scorer. You like to see maybe a little bit more efficiency, but one of the better defenders in this class at the guard position. He's a guy that's super, super big for a guard, but he's also a guy here that I think could guard probably 1 through 3. You look for a very good switchable defender here in this kid. And I think really you're going at, once again, at another guy that's just got a lot of aggression to his game, has been the guy for a Florida State team before. You're getting a guy here that just, I think, knows his role is to come in, defend well, take his chances when he gets them. I had to put my phone on Do Not Disturb. Takes his chance when he gets them, and you could see somebody here that, not to necessarily compare him, but I think this is a guy here that athletically could be one of the better athletes in this class, and athletically could end up being not necessarily an Obi Toppin, because they clearly play different positions, but I think you can see something like him where he comes in, he's going to have some really cool dunks and stuff like that, but you're going to probably trust him with the ball a little bit more if he really works out. Jamir Watkins, that is. Be a solid defender, a decent three-point shooter. You'll see him, I think, develop that three-point shot a little bit more, but I really like the defensive upside here. Haywood Highsmith is an interesting one. Najee Marshall coming off a good offensive year. But really, he's not going back. He is not going back to school, by the way. But really here, you're just looking at a guy that I think sticks on your team for a long time, could provide you. Karis LeVert's an interesting comparison as well, but he could provide you the two-way ability you're looking for, because in the second round, you're trying to just find guys that stick. You're not necessarily going to find Jokic every time. We're trying to find guys that will be long-term NBA players, and I look at Jamir Watkins and what he can bring to the table, and I see a long-term NBA player. All right. I kind of want to say Cam Jones, but we've given Cam Jones a lot of love. A lot of love. I think it's just got to be Cam Jones, though, right? We're going to pass on Cam Jones for now because, yes, I think Cam Jones is probably a first-round pick. We're going to talk R.J. Luis. R.J. Luis, he is another guy here that is coming out of St. John's, had a very bad game to end his St. John's career, but he is a good scorer. The three-pointer, obviously coming along, one of the better defenders at the position. Stanley Johnson's a little bit rough of a comparison, but Josh Hart, if you can get that. This is another guy here that I think defensively, offensively, provides you a lot of what you're looking for in the second round. You want a guy that can have a defined role coming in onto a team, right? You want somebody, and I want to envision, hey, we might have took our big swing in the first round for an extremely high upside. I want this guy here in R.J. Luis. What is guaranteed about him? He's going to be a good defender. He's going to be a solid rebounder. I think he'll be a good mid-range threat. I think the three-pointer will continue to get better. I think here you could probably expect a guy that is, once again, kind of under the Watkins mold and some of these other molds we talked about in this video already. A guy that's going to come in without any fear. A guy that comes in, knows his role on the offense, is willing to shoot the ball, and if even that fails, guess what? You still get a good defender. You still get a good hustle player here in R.J. Luis. Playing at that St. John's team under Pitino, obviously a really good defensive team. I think he's cut out for this. I really do. So there you have it. There's my top 5 players you cannot miss out on. We gave you some first-round prospects. If you are just outside the lotto and you're looking, hey, we have this very specific need. Do we want the extremely high upside? Do we want to go like a Will Riley that I think still has a solid floor? Do we want a really good all-around player in Neat Clifford? Obviously, we brought up Cedric Howard, who's ranked a little low, but probably going to be very close to that lotto. And then we gave you some second-round options there, and Jameer Watkins, who I think is one of the better athletes in this class. And then we also gave you... We also gave you R.J. Luis there. Hunter Salas, not another bad option. There's a lot of guys here in this range that I would be okay picking up because I think they could all turn out to be okay NBA players. But those are my guys that I think will be guys that I think 3 or 4 years down the line you could look back and be like, really? R.J. Luis went 53rd in the draft? There's only maybe like 20 players better than him in this draft. I think really that's what you're looking at is who potentially could be that guy a couple years down the line. You're going to be like, I cannot believe he fell there. So those are my 5 guys. Anyways, let me know what you think. Talk to you later. Wow, am I on the phone? I'll see you next time. Thank you for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe.